Hello guys, how's it going? Nexon done goofed the new boss yet again. Well, I shouldn't say yet again. But I got a DM on Discord and essentially bring this to my attention that there's a gauge reset bug with the new boss first adversary that hang on, let me get out of the way. And basically, so essentially what's happening here is the first clear video says, speaking of resets, GMS got the harder version of adversary that resets the gauge every cycle, regardless of whether you're above the midpoint. GMS changed the boss pretty soon after release to maintain your gauge across cycles if you're in stage 4 or 5. Maple C got that version as well. This impact phase 1 or 2 a crazy amount, but it makes phase 3 basically impossible to have stage 5 for a burst. So essentially what happened is that KMS released the adversary boss with the gauge resetting, and then shortly after it made the boss a lot harder than I guess they intended with it resetting, and they changed that, and after that change, Maple C ported it over post-change, where GMS ported it over pre-change. So if you go on like Maple Scouter, for example, roughly around 120k or so hexa, give or take, is what it shows as a min clear for extreme mode adversary. But it's actually closer to 130k because of the gauge reset. I don't know if you would consider it a bug or just a pre-nerfed port, but regardless, if we should have probably gotten the port of the nerf or the change after. And so I didn't really know how the gauge works, so I asked around, and basically TLDR is in the boss. There is a system where you can push the NPC chat button to parry certain moves and certain attacks, and as you do that, this gauge will fill up. And as this gauge fills up, you get file damage bonus. And it goes up to 1,000 units. And essentially, I believe, yeah, like once you get like to 60% of the gauge or higher, so it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. So essentially, once you get to like the fourth, I guess 60%, like right around the fourth section, you're receiving a 10% file damage bonus that gets reset every 2 minutes. And to kind of show you guys what that kind of looks like is here is a GMS clear POV that I found. Sunny GMS, the Jode himself, where you can see here is his gauge here, and as you can see, they're filling it up. Unfortunately, his minimap kind of blocks it, but you get the point, right? They're filling it up as they parry. And if we fast forward to the power cycle, which is the FMA, see, like right now their gauge is filled up, so they're dealing the max file damage bonus here. And then 30 seconds, 20 seconds, and here we go. Power cycle is about to happen. Their gauge is maybe 80, 90% filled up here. Warning, here it comes. Boom. And then now look at the gauge. It gets, yeah, it goes all the way to like, I'm guessing that's around 50%. So you essentially are losing, what did that chart say? Like 20 file damage. Yeah, so if you're 80% to 100%, losing 20 file damage, and I have to, you know, refill it up. Right? And here is a Maple C Clear by Applefied, nice name, where you can see same thing. Where's this gauge? I can't see it on my screen. Oh, it's right here. Bottom here is the gauge, and waiting for the power of the cycle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They're like 90% down here, and then boom, FMA, and they still keep the gauge. So they still keeping their file damage bonus, and I haven't had really any meaningful experience with this boss, but it seems like phase 3 is where the real problem kind of occurs, from what I was told, where you really want to maximize your damage here and whatnot. But just in general, like, that mechanic in itself not being ported over after KMS realized, like, it's a little bit harder than intended with that reset. So yeah, it's kind of cringe. And there is supposedly a patch tomorrow, but I kind of wanted to go over this because this is kind of why, you know, people are a little upset of this. And by the way, that patch for tomorrow, as of right now, doesn't have any sort of mention of you know, fixing it, essentially. And people are upset about this because mostly the event, right? Like, a boss gets released with you know, like, early bird clear rewards. Like, the first people who are able to clear during this time get these rewards, right? And when it gets released, and then you're expecting a boss to be this difficult, but then it just kind of becomes way more difficult, and it gets to the point where I think essentially that I think the strongest people in Reboot aren't able to clear now because of that. You now have something that comes out on January 15th, and essentially now it's been a week, right? And it might not even get fixed within that week. So something that's supposed to last like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, is now already down to 3 weeks, and it could be even sooner if they don't fix it by tomorrow. And yeah, Nexon. Go west means we get harder versions of bosses. XD. And then in other news, I checked the Cash Up update this week, and it seems like GMS is finally getting our version of Platinum Apples, and they're calling it Divine Wishing Bells. What the hell? And this... oh boy. So this is pretty crazy because, well, first of all, it's kind of like, alright, you can get these scrolls, which are like, yeah, we've seen these scrolls before, you know, pet inno scrolls, pet return scrolls, clean slate scrolls. You can get full +5 attack with premium scrolls, or full +7 with X scrolls, etc., etc. But here's where things get kind of interesting, because this is kind of the same rewards that you get in KMS, and as well as 4x tradable, 3x tradable, symbol. This stuff here in KMS is untradable, like these symbols and the Soul Urda. I believe they're all untradable. But what's interesting is this. Now, I don't believe Luxana and XP vouchers are in the Platinum Apples in KMS. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think they are. And considering they're in the same row as the 4X and 3X, and it doesn't say anything's untradeable here. Like for the scrolls and stuff, it makes sense that they're not untradeable, but the 4X and 3X, normally these are always untradeable. But the 4X and 3X are tradable in KMS, which leads me to believe they are. But does that mean they're going to be tradable as well in GMS? And the Lux Sauna and Advanced coupons, man, if these are tradable, you can just straight up buy XP, like you do weekly bosses, or just pay to win miso in the Maple Point Market, miso market, and just buy XP from the auction house. That'd be pretty crazy if these were tradable. But regardless if they're tradable or not, they're charging $3.50 for one of them, or $99 for 33 of them. And by the way, for anybody curious, they're not going to be available in Heroic, so don't worry about that in Heroic. I'm very curious to see if these will be tradable or not. Wow. And then here are the rates. I think I just opened them here. Yeah, here are the rates. I'm mostly curious about the XP vouchers in Sauna. Wow. So essentially you have a 5% chance to get either XP voucher or a Sauna, which is a lot higher than a lot of stuff here. So, an Abyss Rebirth Plan, and these are tradable in KMS as well. I'm curious to see what people will charge for that, because 3.5k Maple points right now is worth like 1 bill, 1.2 bill last I checked. Probably around 1.2 bill per bell. Whew. Yeah, GMS is in the stinker. So I don't know, what do you guys think about the gauge thing being broken and you essentially having to be a lot stronger than I guess the boss originally intended for you to clear in GMS right now, especially during a time where they have rewards, which in my opinion they should definitely extend the event duration. I don't know if they will. And there is again the minor patch, but as far as I know there is no kind of information on the adversary thing. So only this, where the incorrect difficulty was displayed. So very interesting. So maybe GMS just incorporated the harder version and waiting till next update, and sucks to suck, you might not get the rewards. I don't know what Nexon's thinking. Nobody knows because they don't communicate shit. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. Bam.